Hi, Mom.
Balls and wieners.
Hey, Ben said he's almost done taking apart the gun. He's only got one thing left to do. It's gonna be fine. That's standard procedure in the dismantling guns thing. But see you later.
It's fine. It's fine.
Go ahead and take a look at that.
Yay! I like the little golden door.
That turned out awesome. Now onto the cars. 2005 Chevy 2500 has a mysterious limp mode. Most frequently does it turning left, flashes randomly, lights on the dash as far as shift position implausible and different things of that nature, four-wheel drive lights, and also has had issues not engaging gear. Transmission's been replaced, TCM has been replaced, transfer case has been replaced, and now it's here for us. Out of one of those connectors, I have this junction, which is power. So I'm curious why there's an extra power wire going into the TCM. That's burnt, and where it Y's off here, it comes up, goes through a fuse, into a relay, and that actually powers the headlights. Redid some of the connectors in here, pulled a bunch of extra wires that they had out of the way, tried to clean this all up a little bit, repaired where they had spliced into this harness, started proceeding to look in some other places, found that. Obviously, that wiring harness is not supposed to look like that. So I knew that this was probably where my issue was going to lie. However, while doing a shake test and trying to inspect that harness, I encountered a new symptom. The truck would no longer crank. So at this point, I started doing some diagnostic to figure out why. The PCM here, and if I touch that, I can show that I'm getting 1.2 kilo ohms of resistance. As we're narrowing this down, we're plugged into that same ground circuit. We come over here, we touch that. We still have our 1.2 kilo ohms. This ground has actually been cleaned up, so it has to be where this wire ties into the harness up there. It comes forward into here. So somewhere in that 1 foot, we've got 1.2 kilo ohms. Let's find it. Okay, we're 741 hours into this Chevy pickup truck electrical diag. We've got most of this harness that we've gone through, and after cleaning up a lot of grounds, checking a few rough places, making one repair to one wire, we have significantly reduced the amount of resistance in the ground circuit. Now that we had a good ground for everything that circuit is tied to, the only question was, what was stopping the truck from starting up? However, coming over here to the engine computer harness, I found this blue port right here, which is ground, not making good contact. And repaired, the pin is now fully seated. Going to come up to the PCM itself. So right there you can see a few marks where there was an arc in the connection on that pin, which is the primary ground. Maybe we can see better on this side. There you go. So we're going to clean that up. We can button this thing all back up. There you go. We got that pin fixed. We also found high resistance in that ground line, of course, and got it all repaired. And then everything was happy. We rerouted the harness the proper way, wrapped it all up nice and tight, and our main concern had now been taken care of. The truck also, once again, would start. Well, yesterday we got all of the Chevrolet's wiring harness buttoned back up, repaired that ground I showed you in the J2 connector of the PCM, and everything is back together, and the truck ran home with me last night. So everything's back together, wiring harnesses wrapped, everything is nicely done, but I have a continued issue. That continued issue was that while driving, I had a service brake light come on. Turns out, after digging through all of this that you're watching here, testing communication lines, pulling apart the splice connector, we end up with the seat out of this truck, and all sorts of stuff. There's a service bulletin that notes they are of a known issue, an internal fault with the ABS controller. The best solution to this problem is leave it alone, according to GM at least. So we cleaned the connections up, packed everything full of dielectric grease, and took it back out. We did not get the brake message to come back. I explained this situation to the customer, and they ended up taking the truck with them. Unfortunately, although the original issue had been solved, the ABS service brake message did come up for the customer after a couple hundred miles. He'll be bringing the truck back in, and we're going to take a look at getting a solenoid pack and trying to rebuild the ABS controller to hopefully remedy that. But the initial complaint of the hard jerk, all the lights on the dash, not going into gear, that has all been solved. So pleased that we got that one taken care of, and it was all just related to that ground wire in the harness that was being rubbed on by the tire when you would turn left. Hopefully we can get this thing taken care of in the future. Now, let's focus on something a lot more fun, the Camaro project. Here it is, the almighty 6.2, and while it was out, we had a few goodies put in, so we'll take a look at that and see what we can do to maybe dress this thing up. Let's get it out of that plastic. Oh, that is gonna be nice. Machine Shop did a fantastic job getting this thing all cleaned up for us. Absolutely beautiful looking. Have our 3-bolt cam gear conversion. All new upgraded valve springs from Texas Speed, and there's our Texas Speed cam. Stage 2, this thing should thump pretty well.
Right, don't worry about the shop. You don't know shit about shop.
Oh, really? And you do? You're a fucking expert.
We're gonna get this thrown back together here shortly, get it back in that car, and then this thing will be ready to go down the road. We are also gonna go ahead and put a new clutch in it, and just make sure that everything's in good shape and this car's ready to go for many more miles. Okay guys, so we have the LS3 out of the Camaro. You know, it had a little problem in the bottom end. Unfortunately, a factory oil diverter valve had failed and hung open, caused the vehicle to lose oil pressure, and subsequently it hurt the bottom end. We had metal everywhere. So, factory oil diverter that was the failing point of this engine, I've replaced it with an aftermarket delete. Since this engine is not a displacement on demand or has any need for that feature, we're going to get rid of it so that we don't encounter another problem. And there you go. Now we have the bottom tray back in here, our aftermarket diverter valve delete kit. And we're going to just set this on top. No, there's not a gasket in here yet. That'll come a little bit later. Okay, so on this LS engine, one of the things that we are going to change is this is the stock barbell. This is an aftermarket one that is a piece of billet. They both are the same diameter, but the aftermarket one changes the angle in which oil is directed into the filter, as well as it has a little hole on the back side of it that conveniently makes pulling it out a lot better. This one you have to use a pick and pry on it. This one you can just run a bolt in and grab hold of it. Lastly, the center diameter is thinner on the aftermarket one, so it promotes more oil flow past the barbell and creates less of a restriction. Goes in this factory galley right here. So we're going to go ahead and install that. Just pushes in gently, and there you go. I can go ahead and do my final torque sequence, making sure that everything is up at 18, but now I know the cover is fully seated and everything should be in proper alignment, proper place. So the Camaro here is going to be ready to put the engine back in. We're going to prep that out real quick. I guess first thing is got to get the bumper off. Perfect. And that makes working on stuff so much faster. Let's go ahead and do wheels and tires. Man, that makes life so much easier. Let's really let's get wild with it. And whole engine. Nothing happened. What? Got a haircut. Looks good. Okay, well, we'll get the engine over here and let's give that snap another shot. So apparently my snap didn't work. It was like facing the wrong way. So we'll get a better angle on that engine this time, and that didn't work either. Sorry. My bad, Ben. Dude, you gotta get that thing under control. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. We'll just use the camera stand and keep him safe and everybody else, and we'll probably just do some time lapse now. Rolled the subframe out on the table here. Use the cherry picker, set the engine over onto its motor mounts. Now, next step is going to be getting the transmission mated to the new clutch. On the transmission, we did install a new slave cylinder, throwout bearing, and there's a new pilot bearing in there. So, should be good to go for quite a while. All right, next step here is going to be getting the cherry picker out of the way, putting the intake manifold on, and then we'll get the wiring harness on. And Ben's not here, so I can use my magic snaps again. Perfect. Intake manifold's next. Intake all torque installed. Up next is going to be the wiring harness. And wiring harness is done. There you go. So we got the engine in, got it fired up. Good oil pressure. Very happy. The rain is coming down outside, but this Camaro is all back together and beautiful. Goes to the tuner, and then it will be all ready to go back to the customer. Okay, so I didn't have as much footage as I wanted for this, but the red Camaro is finished. It's back to the customer, and he is so happy. That thing is awesome. It runs great. It sounds awesome. We got the extra sound and power that he was looking for, and I'm super happy. There have been also a ton of upgrades around the shop, like an air filter for our toilet paper holder, cool looking valve covers for our 2J, flags hung up over here. These actually help block the light when we turn off the lights back in this section, so there's not a glare on the sandblast cabinet. And a lot more. I'm sure there's stuff I've missed, but guys, we'll get that in the next time. Thank you again for everything. Enjoy. We can't wait to have you guys back. Like, follow, and subscribe, and we will try and have more updates a lot sooner than this one took.
Hi, Mom.
Balls and wieners.